we saw that the kind of people you work with, sometimes, like there are some broad categories that people have shared that they deal with, right? And
Yeah.
I would love for you to shed some light on how is how is the childhood conditioning manifesting in what's really going on right now. So like when people have a lot of struggle to like regulate their emotions, right? Like either they
Right.
get too overwhelmed, or they, I mean, like cry a lot. What's really happening as such? Can you shed some light on that?
Sure. So the thing with emotions is, the number one thing is that in most cultures, in most homes, emotions are not welcome. Unless somebody has been through a structured journey of self-help, coaching, therapy, various things, that they're not okay to first acknowledge emotion, that emotion is there, and then to express emotion, and then to express emotion, safely, in an appropriate way, and not regret having expressed the emotion. So it's a whole cycle, right? So the first problem with emotion is saying that if I suppress emotion, what's going to happen? It's all going to get collected, and one day when I'm least expecting, there's going to be a volcanic eruption of emotion. Secondly, the proportion of that emotion in response to the, let's say, precipitating event or situation, there's going to be no proportion. So if I feel bad about something and I keep on brushing it under the carpet, in this case, the carpet is like literally me, my body, my psyche, okay? And suddenly one day something very silly happens, like somebody overtakes me from the left, and it's not even a very harmful situation, but just very slightly somebody's attempting. And in that moment, suppose I have my outburst saying, and what's the thought running in my mind? Everybody is out to get me. Nobody listens to me. There's no order. I live in this chaotic world where I'm at danger. I don't even feel safe. So imagine how I'm going to respond to that. So that's what happens with emotion. So, and the other thing we're saying is, a lot of times we don't sit, as kids, they tell us colors and put the triangular puzzle piece in the triangular slot, but they don't tell us the difference between guilt and shame, for instance. Okay, this is a big one. We just have one general feeling of feeling that we've done something wrong, but there's such a huge difference between feeling bad for something wrong I've done, feeling as though something is wrong with me. We don't tell kids in second grade that this is guilt and this is shame. And shame particularly, Kritika, is one of those things that is most difficult to work through. And because we don't acknowledge shame and we don't work through it, most of the time adults, people in their 20s and 30s, will find shame coming and interfering with anger, with sadness, with everything. So they perceive all other emotions also through the lens of shame, because they're saying, I have no business to feel this emotion, and I'm ashamed that I am. Which is why I saw a very humorous Insta reel the other day saying, I'm angry, I'm hopping mad, and I'm crying. And I'm thinking, I'm not supposed to be angry and I'm not supposed to cry either. So how difficult is that? And how neurotic is that actually?
I like how you said that we have never really taught the difference between guilt and shame. I remember this one, very close friend of mine. She was dealing with something and she says, मेरे को अच्छा लग रहा है या मेरे को गंदा लग रहा है. I'm like, they are just two, like broad categories.
Polar opposites, yeah.
And they're broad categories, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you feeling optimistic? Are you feeling great? Are you feeling hopeful? Are you feeling empowered? And when she says ganda, I'm like, are you feeling let down? Are you feeling taken for granted, right? Like, what is, like, I mean, it's very important, because unless we kind of acknowledge, it's very difficult to even deal with what's showing up as such, right? Like,
Yes.
I think acknowledgement is really key in that sense. And I'm sure, like, childhood conditioning and unmet needs in childhood,
Absolutely. Yes.
they show up in relationships, right?
Yes.
And like, do people come to you for relationship issues? I know they do.
Yes, they do. In fact, that was part 2 of your question.
Yes.
You asked about emotional regulation, and before that you said, what are some of the common things? So emotional regulation And understanding, acknowledging, and expressing emotions is something that's going to have a bearing on every relationship. And it's all about relationships, right? Starting with my relationship with me. How do I feel about me? Like I said, do I love myself? And now there's so much talk about self-love, and we should talk about that in some time. So do I like myself even? Am I comfortable in my own skin? Or do I just hate myself and get through my days trying to mask that with the things I tell myself, right? Or I cover myself up with. So relationship with myself, relationship with my significant other, could be partner, husband, spouse, also relationship with my, I'll use the term family of origin, parents, siblings, and maybe the new family that I'm part of, relationship with colleagues, relationship with my friends, all of this. So yes, we have, because everything, the closer the relationship, you see, the relationships will be like a mirror. So the more your issues are going to get reflected back to you, and for both people. And it's like a kind of a play field where everything comes out, all the emotions, all the drama, all the unmet childhood needs. Because you see, our psyche is so clever. It's not going to stop getting that need met. It's like saying, like a child says, suppose, mom, buy me PlayStation. Okay, now, okay, okay, Diwali, you'll buy me. Okay, Christmas, okay, next year, okay, next birthday. But till the mother buys the PlayStation, he's not going to stop asking. Okay, so our needs are like that. They didn't get met in childhood. Okay, dad, mom were too busy, whatever happened, maybe one was abroad, maybe the marriage ended, maybe there was another partner, a foster parent, a step parent, maybe whatever happened. You think this person's going to stop asking for their needs to get met? Never. So I want my colleagues to meet my needs, I want my friends to meet my needs, and my significant other, oh my God, that is the place. Now everything that's left unmet, now this one person has to satisfy, which is why it gets so difficult.
Make relationships
right
work.
This lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert, has written a beautiful book about it called Committed. And she says the problem is we come from, caveman days, and then we come from joint families and, villages where there's uncles and aunts and, so many people. So, and now we've got this one man, and it's written from a woman's perspective. She says there's this one man. He's got to fix the car. He's also got to give me a hug when I'm feeling sad. He's got to help me with the PowerPoint I have to make at the office. What's he going to do? It's crazy. But then, which is why relationships are difficult. And a part of it is, like I said, social conditioning, and maybe we'll talk some more about that. But yes, relationships, and in both areas, that is the personal and the professional,
Correct.
Are a large part of some of the work that I do with clients that consult with me.
Yeah, like I can imagine, like, unmet needs even showing up at the workplace, right?
Yes.
Like if I don't know, constantly felt, let's say, unacknowledged at home, every time I think my boss is gonna ignore me, or someone's gonna give me like a nasty feedback, I won't be able to take it well, for example, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, it's because I think the need of getting validation was not met then, and it's
Yes.
just like waiting to get met anywhere. As
Absolutely.
such. Right.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you said three things. You said messages, wounds, and patterns. Like, how are they linked? What leads to what? Like, we'd love to learn from you.
Amazing. That's a great way to look at it. See, a message first gets internalized with constant repetition. It's the same message being delivered. Okay. Interestingly, a baby's brain neurologically is like a very nascent stage of development. So children only learn by repetition.
Right.
Okay, so actually, even if it's a negative message, or a message like I don't like your face, or you should have been a boy, assuming, and I'm giving you the most drastic examples, or typically I hear things like the color of your skin is wrong, or something, or so the message is that, but in fact when the child hears the same message again and again, strangely it's reassuring. Because repetition is reassuring. It brings predictability. It brings certainty.
And I'd also
So a child won't say, please don't tell me I'm not the right skin color, because actually that's what you've been saying.
Yeah.
From 2 years, that's what you'll say when I'm 12 also.
And I think people are happy preserving their own version of like perceived reality, right? Like,
Yes.
I mean like initially if you give them certain messages, they've probably built up their version of this is true, and then when you send something contradictory, it just shakes up the system entirely. As such, got it. So that's what messages.
So
do.
it becomes sacrosanct, it becomes a belief. Okay.
Right.
Now, in order to cope with that belief and be okay, because that's not how the rest of the world seems to be operating, I develop a pattern which is a coping mechanism to counter that belief.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you
So
explain that
let me
a
give
bit
you an
more?
example of that. So let's just say that a person says that. For instance, a message like, since we're talking about physical appearance, okay, suppose a child is told you're not pleasing, or you're not attractive, or you're not pretty, and therefore for you to get noticed you need to do something to be noticed. So either you have to be very good at sports, or you have to be very good at studies or at painting, and so the entire sum of who you are is going to be evaluated on how fast you run or play some sport, or how many marks you get in math. So then what is the coping mechanism? I've got to do well in math, because without math or without badminton, I'm a nobody, because I don't look good. Nobody's going to give me a second look. I'm never going to be noticed.
Right.
So there's a unidimensional sort of a one-sided growth of that child, saying, there's no confidence, and there's actually very low self-esteem. It's not me, it's the maths marks that are great. Okay.
Got it.
So that was, you said pattern and goals and then wounds. And so it's actually a very deep wound to be told again and again, because what does that message mean? You're not pretty, okay? Means that you don't fit in,
Right.
okay? You don't fit in,
Or
you
you're
don't
not
belong, and you're not worthy of being loved,
Yeah.
right? You're not lovable because you're not beautiful. And so you've got to do a whole bunch of things. So it's a huge wound, and one can spend an entire lifetime filling that wound with accomplishments and achievements which are going to counter the lack of beauty and bring you up to speed with where everybody else is.